Leadership isn't just a title, it's a revolution. Hi, I'm Nkoyo Epyong-Lewis, your guide through the real, raw, and relentless challenges of leading change in a world that often resists it. If you're a bold, audacious leader, tired of the status quo, and ready to make real impact, you're in the right place. This is the Leadership Revolt, where we disrupt outdated norms, reimagine what's possible, so we can lead with integrity, innovate ethically, and expand our impact exponentially. So, are you ready to challenge the odds and embrace your power and lead audaciously? Let's do this. Welcome back. Today, we're going to get into some fun stuff about leadership. One thing I really want to make sure is very clear that we start with here is that leadership isn't about doing. It's not just about doing. It's about being, and being requires rest. All right, friends, if you were listening last week, you know that I talked about having focus and that there's agency and focus and being really intentional about where we are fixating our eyes, our ears, our time and energy, and then inviting rest into this season, particularly after this past election. And today is no different. I know that many of us, particularly if you are in the social impact space, if you are a nonprofit leader, if you are a person of color, if you are a Black person, you have been chastised almost for resting, right? Rest has been connected with laziness and other really negative things, particularly for people of color, for underestimated, underrepresented people, and especially Black people. There is a whole history around our rest being associated with laziness. And so I know that many of us have adopted the superwoman, the martyr complex, that we have to continue to work. We have to push past everything. We have to sacrifice ourselves at the feet of other people's joy, hope, benefit, opportunity, even if it's our community, even if it's people that we care about. And today I want to disrupt that thinking. I really want to challenge us to operate in a different way. And so today's episode, we are diving into the reasons why rest isn't a luxury, but actually a leadership necessity. I'm going to say that again. Rest is not a luxury. It is a leadership necessity because it powers our ability to be resilient, to be creative, and to ultimately make a long-term impact. So I want to problematize your feelings with rest and myself as well, because I'm definitely someone who has been conditioned to go, do, add. And I'm personally in a season of my own life edit where I'm shooking the deuces on things, right? We're editing. We are taking things out and making room for rest. And so I hope that this podcast episode today convinces you to add rest into your strategic plan, your repository of tools to be a bold, audacious leader who drives change. Y'all ready to get in there with me? All right, so let me give you just a quick win right now. If you take nothing away from today, what I want you to know is that rest is a form of strategic planning. So for all of you who love to do your SWOT analysis, who like to get into all the different methodologies around how you can, strategically plan and put up these beautiful documents that nobody looks at after they've created it. Yeah, I said it. Rest is a form of strategic planning. I no longer applaud people who are busy all the time. I'm like, you are not prioritizing your time. You're not effective. You're not efficient. You are all over the place. You're just doing stuff. Like, I'm looking at the people who's taking naps during the day. And I'm going to tell you why, because there's a lot of brain science, et cetera, behind this that's really important. But what I want to say, too, before we get ready, and y'all get your pens and papers together, because I'm here to equip you with information that you can use. But here's the guiding point. Rest is the reset button that leaders need to make intentional decisions and show up fully for their teams. Let's say it again. Rest is the reset button leaders need to make intentional decisions and show up fully for their teams. Tweet that. If you're not on Twitter, X anymore, I get it. Put that on Threads, put that on Blue Sky, put that on Discord, wherever you show up and you tweet your thoughts, put that there. Rest is the reset button that we all need. All right. We're going to get into it. I'm going to give you 3 reasons why leaders need to prioritize rest in this season. And always, I'm going to talk a little brain science. You know, I like to do all the nerdy things. I'm going to give you a few tips and tools and a next step around how you can really operationalize this in your work, right? It is great to know the what and the why, but what's really, really important is that we know how and we actually start to take the stuff that we are learning and turn it into action. If you know me, if you've been listening and running along with me, we're all about taking our ideas and turning them into action, into actual impact, right? That's the name of the game. That's what we're here for. And if you are an audacious leader, I know that impact is something that matters to you, and your legacy is something that is important that you want to make sure you are protecting and safeguarding. And so I'm going to share with you some resources and tools that we have to help you do just that and all those things. But first, I want to bust some myths, right? I think that we have all been conditioned in a hustle culture because of capitalism and the need for constant input, output, etc., in order to make profit. And so we have been taught that rest is weakness, that constant activity equals productivity. But science and lived experiences will tell a very different story. And so I want to first disrupt that belief that rest is weakness, that if you're taking a break, you're trying to lean into your soft air life, that you're giving up, that you're lazy, that you're not willing to put in everything because you're not willing to sacrifice your whole health. First and foremost, we can't get health back. We don't get time back. We don't get health back. Money, opportunities, all those things will come and go just like a train or a bus. They're always circulating. But your health and your time are things that you never get back. And so I really want us to prioritize those things as leaders because we need to give much more. When you're driving change and you're the one making all the decisions, we actually have to be the ones who are sharpest, who are most together, who are most in control of our emotions, etc. And a lot of those things are affected, impacted, influenced by the quality and level of rest that we're getting. So the myth is rest is weakness, that you're lazy, you don't have it, survival of the fittest, you're not the fittest. The reality is rest is required. I'm going to say that again. Rest is required. And let me tell you some reasons why. Y'all know me, I'm a nerd, so I've been spending a lot of time reading more about neuroscience and the brain and how the brain works. I'm currently still reading, because it's a very long book, Limitless by Jim Quick. I'll put it in the notes there. But again, it's a really great book. I'm listening to it on Audible. But it talks about the brain, how the brain works, how we can learn better, faster, more efficiently. And he has a whole section about rest and the brain, which I thought was, wow, hey. Essentially, adequate sleep is essential for memory consolidation, for learning, and cognitive performance. So if your job, your calling, your purpose, your position requires you to consolidate information, to learn, to perform cognitively, where are my lawyers at? Where are my doctors at? Where are my thought leaders at? Where are my executive directors? Where are my board members? If you are in the business of using your brain to produce an outcome, you need sleep. You need sleep, period. Because that's where all the really good stuff happens. Sleep, in fact, facilitates the brain's detoxification process. Who knew your brain was detoxing? It is when you're sleeping, and that's when it's actually removing metabolic waste products that accumulate over time because we're awake. So the brain actually goes through its own wash cycle, its own cleanse while we're sleeping. We need to make sure that we're sleeping so that can happen. This cleansing is crucial for maintaining cognitive health and preventing neurodegenerative conditions. What I love about this, I was in another conference and they were talking a lot about neurotechnology and all the stuff that we're doing to really better understand the brain and all this insight that's coming out, figuring out why is it that Alzheimer's dementia, et cetera. All these things are happening, and if there are ways to prevent it, right? So we're looking at the brain. They're doing all these sleep studies. We have come to identify a few things. There's actually real work that happens, real cleansing that works to make sure that our brains stay in tip-top condition while we are sleeping. The brain often synthesizes information and generates innovative ideas during sleep, which can lead to improved decision-making and insight. Who knew your brain was putting all this stuff that's happened together and synthesizing it, moving it around in your brain so that you can have better insight? I am actually trying to do more. This book, Limitless, talks about recording your dreams and being more mindful of like thinking about what I was dreaming about, what my brain was doing while my body was at rest, and it was able to really get into its good cleansing zhuzh cycle, because that could be very insightful about things and ideas. And so sometimes, you have an idea, it's very profound. I don't know if any of you have woken up and been like, I was just thinking about something I can't remember, or like I had a really great idea while I was sleeping. Some of you might have woken up in the middle of sleep. There are people who definitely encourage you to put a notebook near your bed because you might wake up with a great idea. You want to jot it down because you might not remember it when you wake all the way up. But like a lot of really cool stuff happens when we are asleep. And therefore, it's important that we actually go to sleep to do that. And I've been testing this out. I've actually been pushing myself to go to bed in and around the 9 o'clock hours, because I've also heard that the number of hours of sleep you get before midnight actually has a difference around how you feel versus after midnight. So I've been testing this out. And actually, when I go to bed at 9, and I get up still at like 3:45, 4, but when I go to bed at 9 and wake up early, like so much more rested, I feel like my nervous system is in such a better state, in like way better sleep, way better mood, so on and so forth. So I would encourage you to test it out. What do you got to lose? At the worst case, you get more sleep, which most of us probably absolutely need. They actually say that like not getting enough sleep could be taking years off of our life and could be really doing some harm to our brain. So that's the science behind the reality that rest is required. It is not a weakness. It is not laziness. It is none of those things. It is actually required for us to operate at peak performance, especially those of us who use our brain to change the world. So first and foremost, rest is required. It is not laziness. It is not weakness. It's something that's super useful. If that was helpful for you, tell some friends, and make sure that you get in here and subscribe to the Leadership Revolt, because I'm always going to try to bring you the absolute best in information, the most up-to-date information to help you move yourself and your organization forward. But yes, absolutely, rest is required. And we are going to talk about the benefits of rest. So I'm going to give you 3 benefits of rest. Then I'm going to talk to you about some ways that you can actually operationalize this in your life so that you can fit rest in. And when I tell you, if I can do it, you can do it. I am a working woman. I got a 9 to 5. I run a business. I've got a husband. I've got children. I get, all the things. I'm finding time to prioritize rest. I want to encourage other audacious leaders to do that, to cut against the grain that says we just got to grind, because ultimately it's not healthy and it actually isn't as effective or efficient. So if those of you who want to actually see progress, see things happen and feel good in the process, right? Not struggle our way through to the other side, then I encourage you to get more rest. All right, here are the benefits of rest. And I should say there are I think 7 different types of rest. If you are on in my newsletter, the Leadership Revolt, I will make sure that I include in there the different types of rest so that you can see it's not just about going to sleep. There's physical rest, there's mental rest, there's all, goodness, what else did I come across? There's sensory rest. There's so many different types of rest. And so I want you to figure out how you can incorporate these different types of rest into your work. And again, not so shameless plug. If you are not subscribed, subscribe here to the show, go down to the show notes and subscribe to the newsletter, because I give a little bit more information to those who commit to going on this journey. Every time that you check a yes, you're telling me, Nkoyo, I want to be more audacious. I want the tools. I want the resources. And so Get in here so we can get it. Because let's be very clear. In the year 2025, oh my Lord, what we got coming is going to require all of us to be more rested, more mindful, more focused, and more creative about how we drive change. And that brings me to my very first point about what are the benefits of rest for leaders. One, rest fuels creativity. It does. It simply does. There's all kinds of actual brain science behind this. So if you are not reading Limitless, I encourage you. He also links to a whole bunch of other podcast episodes, things like that, that he has done with other brain folk to talk about this, back it up. But like I mentioned earlier, right, our brain actually synthesizes information while we're sleeping. It helps us to get some good ideas that come out of there, some innovative ideas that come out of there, some creative ideas. And as a result, a lot of breakthrough ideas come during downtime or when we take a step back. Have you ever worked really, really hard? You're like trying to figure out something, can't figure it out. Step away for some time. And then it's like, boom, here's the solution. This is what we do. Here's the idea. Because our brains need rest. They are machines. And unlike ChatGPT and all these other things that can like work all the time, like they actually need a period of slowing down, of having off time. And so it's very important to give yourself time to rest, to take vacations, to have ending hours to work, to take a weekend away. There is something that happens in our brains that allows all the good juju music and magic to happen up there to help us come back. And you need creativity. Why? Because creativity drives innovation. And innovation is the cornerstone, the hallmark of effective and, dare I say, audacious leadership. We need more creativity. One thing that keeps me hopeful as I look at what this administration may be for a lot of us who are in the space of advancing causes related to women and children who are operating on things that have, value inclusivity, cultural humility, diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, et cetera, is we're going to have to be more creative in this season, creative around how we get funding, creating around how we deliver services, creative around how we avoid whatever sort of political targeting that might come from the type of work that we're doing, because it is disruptive work. It is going to challenge and push the status quo, and the status quo doesn't want to be changed. So we have to recognize that, and we have to know that we need to be creative. And one of the beautiful things about creativity is that it loves constraint. And so there is hope in this that we can become more creative around how we drive change. But in order to do that, we need to make sure that we are rested. And so again, rest fuels creativity. We need to be getting to rest. The second thing, the second benefit, the second leadership benefit of rest, is that it builds resilience. And y'all know I have a complicated relationship with the term resilience because many underestimated, underrepresented groups have been forced to be resilient. We haven't had a chance to just sort of choose that. Like it's just our status quo or modus operandi because all the stuff gets thrown at us. But to the extent that there is still beauty and importance and necessity in resilience, our being able to recharge allows us to build more of that. Why? Leaders who rest are better able to bounce back from setback. Y'all, if you've been following me, your girl has had a number of setbacks in the last 12 months, including 2 campaigns for public office that didn't go the way I wanted them to. I've had a business that didn't make the money that I wanted it to do. I've had a number of things that just didn't show up the way. And I'm still here, still going, still growing, operating with a beginner's mindset because I have found and have been prioritizing, especially in this new season after this last election, rest and recharging and taking time to not do things because I have felt the effects of burnout. And I know that there are many of you who are listening who are probably living through burnout and don't even realize that that is the experience that you're having because you're so used to just going and you're just pushing yourself more and more and more, harder and harder and harder to do things that might have been simple. I know for me, I started to realize something was wrong because I'm a morning person. Baby, if there's like a little bit of light, the eyes are open, I'm ready to go. I'm super excited. I was having the hardest time waking up in the morning, not hearing my alarm, all sorts of things. I was like, what is going on? Right. And I had to take some pause, had to get some outside feedback from others to let me know, girl, you are in burnout, right? You have literally let your candle go all the way down to the bottom, and there is no more wax to fuel it. Like, you need to sit down and recharge. And so recharging is important for resilience, because if we don't take the time to step away, we will be exhausted, and then we won't be able to be creative. We won't have hope. We won't have a number of things that are going to be necessary in this season, but also all the time when you're leading change. Rest helps to regulate your mood and to help you manage stress. And insufficient rest can lead to irritability, anxiety, and depression. So if you're finding yourself being incredibly irritable about all things, if you're finding yourself very anxious, if you're finding yourself constantly feeling very down, angry, you may not have enough rest. And you may be pushing yourself into these situations that color the way that you show up and operate and feel about yourself. And the body keeps score. There's a book by that name. I'm terrified to read it. I'm not going to lie, because I have done a lot of things to my body that I'm like, oh, it's good. And the body keeps score. And what we want to do is make sure that we are treating our bodies well and giving it the rest that it needs to be able to bounce back, to manage itself, to take care of itself. And so rest helps us to do some of that. And we want to make sure that we're giving it to ourselves and giving ourselves good rest, good guilt-free rest, so that we can show up and do the incredible things that we need to, want to, or called to do in the world. And building resiliency matters, especially in times of uncertainty and disruption. And regardless of how you feel about the election, I think we all know from past experience in the past administration that there was a lot of uncertainty, a lot of disruption, breaking news all the time. And so we want to make sure that we are taking care of ourselves to manage that and how that will impact the work that we are doing. Are those good? Are those two good points so far? So like I said, rest fuels creativity, rest builds resilience. Talk to me in the comments. I would love for you to engage. Definitely comment, talk with me. I would love for this to be more conversational. I want to hear, is this hitting? Are you thinking like, yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't thought about that. Or nah, girl, I'm still going to hold on to my Superwoman cape. I'm not sleeping. Sleep is for suckers, and all that other type of stuff. Let me know in the comments. Third and final benefit that I want to give to you about rest for leaders is that rest amplifies presence. A well-rested leader can fully engage with their team, their stakeholders, their mission. You can fully engage with all your other responsibilities that happen outside of work. I always tell people, right, leadership is an inside job first. In order to master all the things that are happening in and around you and to you and with you, you really got to get yourself centered. And being centered also requires us to figure out how to be present in the moment, whether that's at work or at home. But definitely when we are engaging with our teams and we are channeling the courage and sometimes the peace of mind that our teams need in these moments of uncertainty and disruption, when there's transitions, et cetera. And so it's important that we are well rested so that we can show up and attend to the things that are in front of us and do that appropriately. Why does this matter? Well, here's the thing. Change happens at the speed of trust. A lot of times when people are not trusting, when trust is broken down, it's really hard to move things forward. I saw this when I was representing families in special education matters. Once that trust was broken, it was almost impossible for the families and the schools to work back together to do the things that they needed to do, because trust building needed to happen, and that's not in the IEP agenda, unfortunately. When you are running and leading change, you have got to build trust. And one of the things that is very helpful for creating trust is presence, really being able to fully attune, be listening, engage, be honest and transparent to the extent that it makes sense to share the information that's necessary. And that presence inspires confidence. A lot of times I think we want to just have people be confident in us as leaders without like giving any indicators. We want them to just trust I'm the leader, I know what to do. But like, I got a toddler, and these children, they are ruthless. They don't care, like they want to feel it. And I know when I taught, that was one of the things. Students didn't want to hear me tell them that they care. They weren't going to learn from me until they knew that they could feel it, that they cared, that I created an environment that was safe, psychologically safe, physically safe, creatively safe place for them to learn. And so those are the things that we also have to figure out how to do for our teams. And sometimes when we are unsettled, when our nervous system is disrupted and we're irritable, we're frustrated, we're stressed, we're tired, we aren't able to lead with the things that our communities need. And I get it. You're like, Inquil, I'm a human being too. Yeah, girl. Yes, sir. I get it. You are. Here's the thing. Leadership is a privilege, and it's a responsibility. And it's not one that should be taken lightly, although 70 something million people were just like anybody could lead. I don't ascribe to that. Like, you really have to have a good command of yourself to hold and carry weight for other people. And you have to have tools for yourself to be able to do that in a way that doesn't deplete you. And I'm very intentional in all of the work that I do, in the consulting work, in my speaking, everywhere, that leadership should not come at your expense. It should be beneficial. It should amplify you as well. And that's not to say that it's not hard, that it's not challenging, it's not complex. It doesn't require you to become the best version of yourself. It does. But we can do that in a way that doesn't destroy you in the process. And that's especially why I'm really called towards the nonprofit social impact space, because a lot of times folks are just trained to think like, oh, I can only do good, I cannot do well also, and I have to struggle my way through that. And I just want to dispel that myth by equipping people with the tools that they need to do the opposite. So I'm going to land that plane right there. I want the key takeaway, if you understand, and nothing else. Rest is a leadership strategy. It is actually a tool in your toolbox for leading disruptive change, for being audacious, for transforming the way the world is. You need rest. It fuels creativity, it builds resilience, and it amplifies your presence, which is necessary to create trust and inspire confidence. And so I want you to get into the business of adding and including rest into your toolbox. I think I've mentioned in other podcasts, I have a client that they have weeks that are just off for the organization. It's just like, this is a week of rest. Nothing happens. We don't check our emails. We're not going to strategize. We're not doing anything. We're taking time. There are great organizations out there that offer sabbaticals. After you've worked for X amount of time, they will pay you to go do something else. Because what we know is when you come back, there's a freshness about you. There is a creativity. There's an energy that is necessary. And so it's important that we make sure that we are adding rest into the work, and that is a part of the strategy that we have. So if you're nodding your head and you're like, yeah, girl, I need to get more rest, period, right? Like, I have these wrinkles. I'm going to be looking like I have struggled through. I don't want to feel like I have struggled through. What I want you to do then, and I want to let you know, is you are in luck. I am going to share a few tips on how to operationalize this concept. But if you really want to go deep into how to do this and have a supportive community to help you do it, I invite you to join us inside the collective. It is our digital village membership for bold leaders like you, where you get the space, the strategy, and the support you need to lead change. Inside the collective, you get access to a supportive community of like-minded, audacious leaders driving change. We offer timely content and resources to accelerate your growth. And then there are office hours with industry leaders and experts to help you on your path. And we do this while balancing and thinking about you as a whole person, right? I always tell people, again, leadership is an inside job first. You are not just going to turn on the switch and be like, oh, I'm a leader. well, my household, my life is falling apart. No, I don't want that for you. Too many of us have sacrificed our personal joy to get to where we are. We're not doing that anymore. So inside this space, we're really equipping you with the things that you need to grow and build. This is a supportive place that offers valued aligned content and community for leaders like you. And so I invite you to join. I will leave the link in the show notes so that you can get in there, check it out. It's a booming space. We are growing. We're adding to our founding members. And every month, we have a theme and we're working on things very strategically to make sure that we're growing so you can have the best year ever, that you can see leadership yourself grow as a leader. You can see that impact. You can have the space to not be doing it alone. So many of us are grinding out here in isolation. And, there's that African proverb that's like, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And I am very intentional about making sure that we go far and that we are safeguarding the progress so that we don't keep having these huge, massive rollbacks in all the things that we've done just because there's a change in leadership, whether that's all the way at the top, in the federal government, or even more importantly, in your organization. If a board member leaves, an executive, like a key staff member, we don't want things to fall apart simply because there's been a change. And I want to help you navigate change, whether it's intentional, designed, or, happens to catch you by surprise. And so that space is there for that. One of the things that I want to give you is a tip to take forward from here is if you are serious about rest, you got to put it on your calendar. You have to be intentional about actually making sure that it is something that you are doing, that you are scheduling it into your calendar, just like you would schedule paying a bill, just like you would schedule, this is the time I got to go to work, I got to go to a meeting. You need to put that in your calendar and make sure that it gets done. You need to protect the heck out of it so that it is actually something that happens. So that's my one little tip that I'll give you to start. Otherwise, if you want more on how to make sure that you are operationalizing rest so that you can lead audaciously with integrity, and innovation and actual impact, I encourage you to join us inside the collective. All right, well, I got to leave you with a challenge before you go. And so I want to hear from you. Send me in the comments. Let me know where in your calendar this week are you going to create space for intentional rest. And here's the thing. All the problems are going to be there whether you take a nap or not. Let us be clear. Your ability to effectively address them and manage them will be increasingly better the more rested you are. So take the nap, shut the thing down, get the rest. Like I said, if you join the Leadership Revolt newsletter, I will include there the different ways, the different types of rest. So you can see all the different ways that you can take rest, even if you're not just going to sleep. But I do encourage you, go to sleep. Go to sleep, sis. Go to sleep. So yeah, make sure that you are getting some rest. And again, if this episode resonated with you and you're ready to explore how intentional rest and community can transform your leadership, I invite you to join the collective. And even beyond that, I invite you to subscribe to this channel so that you can see all of the episodes as they go live. We usually post on Sunday evenings at 8 p.m. So get in there, subscribe, and let's go do some really cool, important, impactful things in a way that manages and prioritizes our well-being. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for joining me for this episode of the Leadership Revolt. Remember, leadership isn't about following the rules. Okay? I know I'm telling some people some stuff and they're like, wait a minute, what she said? What she said? Leadership is not about following the rules. And that's coming from a rule follower, right? It's about rewriting these rules with audacity, with purpose, and integrity. And if this episode sparks something for you, share it with another bold leader who needs to know this, who's ready to disrupt the status quo and wants some support and information around how to do that. Of course, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review so we can keep building this movement together. And until next time, stay bold, keep your resolve, and go lead audaciously.